today our hero is Lichtenstein, a very famous pop artist. He was born in New York in 1923. He already died in 1997. And he was kind of one of the most important artists in this pop art style. As you can see, so let's maybe observe his artworks a little bit. So it has a lot of graphics, a lot of lines and stripes and shapes. So it's a little bit connected to our last lesson, of geometrical composition. And he's one of the most famous favorites things of him to do was all these dots. And you can make them smaller, bigger, and also like this transition of the dots, like from darker to lighter. So this kind of interesting techniques. He also worked a lot with comics, so creating comic books. So you can actually see this style. It a bit resembles the comic art. So markers or color pencils for today to work. And we started with pencil. And today we're also going to work freely, meaning that your artwork will be different from mine. We're going to follow this scheme of work, but still every one of us can have own choices. So first, we're going to take some geometrical shape, well, more correctly, probably object. As example, it can be a picture frame. Like here we see some picture frame. It can be a table. It can be a chair. It can be also easel, for example, something connected with art. You can take one, you can take two objects. So really up to you. Also, anything else that comes into your mind can apply. And we just place it somewhere in our paper. So we're going to be working and placing these different objects. So next one will be some face elements. We can see also here, we can see eye, we can see lips. And as you see, you can place them also upside down, or maybe like huge lips, or like the eye looking from the side. So a little bit kind of, again, a bit unusual. Still, this kind of style is a bit flat, is a bit like poster. So we don't really worry about lights and shadows. But in the end, we will be also using the technique of coloring. So we're going to have some empty spaces. We're going to have some solid color. And then, of course, stripes and dots, to make it similar. So, let's start with first. So just think, you can choose also from these ones and just place it on your paper. The size and the location is really up to you. So for example, maybe I'll take a frame. So then, because then it also gives me a chance later to put something into the painting. And then placing it also like a bit half looking out of the page, why not? So it's like maybe the half of the painting is visible. And I can create the frame. So if you also like the idea of picture frame, the frame can be really different. Making here a bit like, curvy. Maybe like just double line is also fine, like double straight line. So, well, maybe I take also the second object. So I have a frame that later I can place there some other elements inside the painting.
Do we have to use one out of the four geometric shapes, or can we use different ones?
You can use any different geometrical shape, but more correct would be the object. So yeah, just any object. So table, chair, and like as an example. But then of course you can think of your own. Maybe you take a book, maybe yeah, and any other whatever comes into your mind. So yeah, also no rush. Give it some times to think what. Yeah, so just anything. Yeah, I'm taking the frame, and I think I'm gonna take a chair. I don't know. Yeah, so just kind of maybe someone came to the museum and is with the chair to sit and observe the painting. Mm. Mm. So pop art, I think we have already worked with this style, but still I'm going to remind you a bit about it. So mainly it it has developed in United States and in United Kingdom. And it was the after war times, and people finally kind of recovered. They started living better. They started buying things. The shops had more things to buy. So it's kind of a huge wave of commercial appeared. Um, so this pop art style is connected a bit with making posters, making advertising. Um, so the art looks more flat. Yeah, so it's not, let's say, this traditional art like from the past. Yeah? And what was important for this art, like the big change, that they could print it in many pieces. So it was also a little bit like against of that there is just one art piece that is somewhere in the museum and that's it. But they kind of made art for everyone, so everyone could go and buy their own image poster of pop art. Alex, what objects you've chosen?
For now, I have a book.
You have a book. Okay, that's also interesting. Maybe you can have like one closed book and one open book, for example. Just like, yeah, um, warming up with ideas with. Um, so this artist, Roy Lichtenstein, he also played piano. He also played clarinet, and then he had his little jazz band. And then, of course, he was going also to watercolor classes. Yeah, and like, of course, he was studying also different art and art techniques. Another interesting fact about Roy Lichtenstein that he has invented rotating easel. Yeah, so easel is this thing where you put your canvas or your paper, uh, where you draw paint, and he kind of so we usually have it static, but he kind of had it the way he could rotate. So sometimes he would turn his drawing upside down and continue drawing, and then so it allowed him drawing from different sides. It was also like interesting. Girls, what objects you have chosen?
I'm gonna do a clock and a frame.
Interesting. Clock is also interesting. What about you, Juliet? You've made up your idea?
I did a frame, and I think I'm gonna do like, I'm not really sure yet.
Okay, yeah, take your time to think. Clock is nice. Maybe I'm thinking if I shall add another object like a clock. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add the clock, and later, because I already know that we're doing some face elements or body elements, and we're also gonna have some nature parts. So I'm gonna connect the clock with the moon when we get till that. All right. Ready to move for the face part? No, not yet. Okay, good. Just asking. Yeah, Alex, if you're ready, you can just think what body parts you would like to have. So here I have examples like eye, lips, a profile, yeah, just like the contour of the head, nose. But of course, it can also be a hand, a foot. And then you can think, okay, where I could place it in some interesting way. And again, it can be one, it can be two elements. I have an interesting idea. I will use the profile part a little bit as the part of the frame. Yeah, so a little bit like connected. So once you have your objects placed, like the next ones, like body parts and nature parts, kind of try, I don't know, to connect them or to place in some interesting way to, so maybe I'll have like this, and here will be the nose, and that will be the lips, and the chin. So here I have kind of made a hidden profile. Yeah. So maybe that's not even from the first side you see it. No, more or less, maybe. Yeah, making like more also the head, then it's more visible. And I think I'll do also the lips and the eye. Now I'm thinking how to place them. I can place like maybe with half-looking eye, half-looking lips, but maybe I put the lips on top and the eyes on the bottom. And then it will be a bit more weird. Yeah. Let's say, for example, here in this painting of Lichtenstein, you can see the man with the head. Yeah. So also maybe like some. I've removed my lips. I kind of clicked. And of course, yeah, let's think what else can do. And you can also do something unusual. Here I'm gonna take one part of his painting, so the neck with the tie, and then the tie will be hanging like outside the painting. You know, for example. Yeah, so your painting can be funny, it can be weird, it can be... So this is something when we often go to art museums, and sometimes there are paintings that we don't understand. Because when the painting is, let's say, realistically, it depicts nature or still life, and it's all clear, you know? Apples are apples, flowers, landscape. But sometimes there are, let's say, paintings that are not that clear. And then it takes, let's say, more work from a viewer kind of to understand it. And sometimes we would say we can't understand because, and it's normal, because we can't know what the artist, placed there. I mean, unless the artist is there and he's explaining us, or maybe there is a text next to the painting that explains the idea behind it. So more often, the idea behind it is more like emotions or feelings, and it's more about how we react subconsciously to the painting. So we either kind of we are interested in it or not. I'm thinking if I shall add footsteps or not. Or maybe I can add shoe steps, not the footsteps, but I can have the shoe steps. For example. Okay, I already have too many elements of the person. Alex, which body parts you've chosen?
Hands, eyes, and lips.
Nice. Good. So let's give so maybe 1 more minute for everyone to finish with body parts. Then we move to nature, and then we kind of the last thing is to unite, because now we have many different objects, and last element is meant to kind of bring them all together. So maybe one common line, can be curvy, can be also straight. So for example, the idea for here the clock, I've placed here the clock because then I had the idea I want to place here the moon. So like a half moon there would be. So later when we color, then I make it the color so it's understandable. And yeah, nature, anything can be a tree, can be cloud, the moon, the stars, the sun, can be sun stars. It's actually also one of the, I'm going to show you now, popular. So it's also like his, the way he did. So he did the sun with these kind of long stars. So it also belongs to Roy Lichtenstein kind of artworks. And yeah, so maybe those stars can be somewhere. Yeah, maybe there is like a part of the sun that is kind of, yeah. For example. And yeah, so again, like with well, in my drawing, maybe it's also already a bit too much of the objects. Like if we follow Roy Lichtenstein, then he has more geometrical shapes, but well, it's okay. So I've placed a cloud, but kind of the wrong position. So it's not the usually horizontally, but just kind of I've connected it with this face that I have here.
This is mine so far.
Ooh, let's check Juliet's ones. Wow, very interesting. Let me observe. Yeah, I see the eye. A big one, brave, and top. Curious. Yeah, looks nice. Excited to see the colorful version. And so Juliet showed us already her artwork, and it also has many different elements. So we should try to use this last step to kind of unite them. So it can be other, like let's say some long curvy line that maybe kind of connects everything with some, so kind of intervening with those shapes in some way. It can be also some geometrical lines that you can also skip this step. Let's say if you also find it okay, it's already too much. Well, and once you're, let's say, ready with your pencil drawing, then we just follow these 4 parts to color. Yeah, so some areas feel free to keep white, just empty, and it's also like kind of saves time, and so you can choose maybe some bigger areas can actually be white. Some solid color, so yeah, just here you like be careful choosing the color palette, although it's pretty much all colors here, and yellow and red and blue and green, it's all here, so definitely you can go colorful, but still then the most kind of belonging to the style are those stripes that like last lesson with this graphic composition we also talked that the stripes can be thin and more close together, can be thicker with the bigger space in between. So stripes are always the line and also the emptiness in between. Yeah, so don't forget the emptinesses and the dots. Yeah, as you can see here in his paintings, that sometimes the dots kind of cover the bigger area part. So yeah. And you can go jumping. It doesn't mean you need to go in this order. Let's say go by your feeling. So if you feel, okay, this area is going to be all with the dots, perfect. Go start with the dots. If you feel the stripes, she'll go first. Yeah. Okay, I'll try going with the dots. Let's say, so I have this painting. So let's see if it works. A bit too light, but okay, I'm gonna try to use this color. So my idea, I'm gonna start with, let's say, bigger dots. And then as I move, I wanna do smaller dots like on the top of the painting. So like each next line, I'm gonna try to do a bit smaller. Yeah, so for example, this is one of the dots. And yeah, just let's say it's going with the flow, which color, which area speaks to you. This one we can. Yeah, and of course, if later you have interest, you can just Google, you type pop art, very easy, pop from popular. Yeah, and you will find not only Roy Lichtenstein, you will also find Andy Warhol, another one very famous and representative, yeah, of this artwork. And yeah, and generally all the artworks are pretty colorful. I'm thinking. And all these artworks, it already belongs to the period of postmodernism. So to modernism style belongs, so it started with Impressionism. That's when we did the Claude Monet bridge with water lilies, and pointillism, when you paint also with points, and then it was Van Gogh. So Van Gogh belongs also to like modernism times, and it's basically like modernism took 100 years between 1850 and more or less till 1950. And pop art is already after 1950, so it's already kind of, it's after the abstract art. So modernism, it had all these movements. It belonged like Picasso with his cubism. Was there, it was surrealism also. And then it was like every 10 years it was different movements, different styles that all culminated in abstract art. So Kandinsky was really one of the, let's say, fathers of the abstract art. And actually pop art was also a little bit like a contradiction to this abstract art. And in general, if you observe all these styles, it's just general tendency that every new style rejects the previous. So it's kind of something is done, and then the new artists are coming and say, okay, we don't want like this anymore. We want differently. So pop art acted also a bit like a critic to abstract art, where like, you know, it's not clear what's there. It's like so abstract that actually for people who are not coming from art areas, for them were like difficult to kind of to connect with this art. So in this way, pop art was a bit like the art for masses. So it's clear. It's also mostly kind of so friendly, and it's colorful. Yeah, and basically, like postmodernism, then it was like everything else what was happening afterwards. So even to nowadays, yeah. So it was a lot of also. So in this postmodernism, it was also already not only paintings, let's say, but a lot of art performances. So instead of like some object, like a sculpture or painting, it actually was some events, like art performance, that the artist would be there and would try to create some artwork, sometimes with their own body, you know, or next time I promise we can go back and do something realistically. If you tell me that, okay, enough of experimenting with free compositions and but it's good to experiment and explore different art, because then later you as an artist, you have more options to choose when you're familiar. Well, I basically kind of colored areas, and now I'm gonna like come back and do more stripes and more dots. So maybe again, some more dots, maybe in my cloud. Alex, tell me how it goes and how it feels on your artwork.
It needs to be more colorful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you want, you can also make a note somewhere, write Roy Lichtenstein, write pop art. So just to remember, it's good to kind of later to bring back in the memory what was it about. Alex, ready to share?
No.
No, not yet. That's good. Is it easy or is it hard to make artworks like this?
Little bit hard.
Oh, okay. So realistic art for you is easier.
I don't think so.
I like the dots, that with dots you can actually kind of fill in many spaces that are like different. Can be tiny space, can be kind of dots are coming in easily within different shapes. Well, I think my artwork is done. There is no empty space left to... I mean, there are empty areas, but I left them on purpose. Yeah. So this kind of interesting experiment we did with pop art. Yeah, here it's more, I'd say, exploring the technique rather than some meaning behind all these, elements and so on. Yeah, one doesn't always have to look for meanings in art. Sometimes it's just like, sometimes art is just for art's sake. Art is generally very wide thing to interpret and so on. Nice. I'm gonna stop recording here, but we're gonna stay and share in our group the artworks with it.